Hey guys, Colin Elam again, aka the Musket Man, and I am back for another episode of Gun Table Talk. And in today's episode, we've got another iconic handgun of the Old West that pretty much everybody knows or has seen in the legendary film Tombstone. So what I've got here is the 1873 Cattleman Buntline, or the 1873 Single Action Army, or the 1873 Colt, went by many names. But this is a Pietta reproduction that I happened to get, about 8 months back. And I decided it was probably an appropriate time to do a gun table talk video over. And I'll just go over right off the bat. Look at this thing. Now this is basically the deluxe edition that Pietta offers. As you can see, all the laser engraving, the silver frame, very pretty. The engraving goes all the way around, the trigger guard even, the casing extractor, very nice. So I already did a gun table talk video over the 1873 Cattleman, and I went over mostly the history and a little bit over the gun. So if you want to know more about the history of the particular model, I recommend you go check out that video. This is just going to be more over this gun itself, so thanks for joining me. So where did I get this? So I got this at my local gun shop in Lubbock, Texas, and it had sat there for about a little over a year. And the price was a little too expensive, which if you try to look for these online, I think EMF Company and some others sell these. They get a little bit hard to find in today's time with all the gun crisis that's going on. But he had one in stock, and it sat for a year and a while, nobody buy it. Well, one time I went in, he had dramatically dropped the price to where it was, I couldn't refuse it. I had to take it home, especially with this engraving. It's not quite the Wyatt Earp edition from the movie Tombstone, where it's got his badge and the grip, and it's just a solid, blued, maybe a color case hardened frame, nothing like that. This one's just a little different, but it's the same gun. So I went ahead and bought it, and it was just an insane price. And from my last video on Gun Table Talk, I went over the Uberti and the Pietta versions. Like I said, this one's also a Pietta. So with these, as you can see, this one in the Piettas that I've seen has the safety notch. As you can see right there, the hammer locks into place right there, and the firing pin will not go forward. It's kind of hard to see, and it's stuck there. Firing pin will not go any further, and they do that so you can safely have 6 rounds loaded into the gun without, what people say, if you were holding them back then and it was resting on a primer and you accidentally hit it, it would discharge, even with the cap and ball revolvers. So that's pretty cool what Pietta does. Just like my other model, they have this one as well. The Uberti model I had, which was the Model 2, which has the retractable firing pin, and I talked a little bit about that. The spring in there broke, and they kind of had to fix it where it doesn't retract anymore. That gun, if I'm going to carry it, I have to carry it like the cowboy action shooters on an empty chamber. And something I forgot to say, this is a 45 Colt. This model does come in different calibers like 38 Special, 357, and others. But 45 Colt is the more popular round you're going to find, or 45 Long Colt, which is the proper term to say it. And that's actually the correct caliber for this particular gun. Now, the same way to load it as any of these is you simply put it on half cock, which frees up the cylinder, open up your loading gate, and you load them one at a time. Load it simply when you have all 6, you just safely lower the hammer, get on that safety click like I was talking about to safely have 6. Then after you fire again, you put it on half cock, free up the cylinder, open your gate, and you can extract your casings to reload it to fire again. Now, with it being a 45 Long Colt, you are able to, if I am correct, shoot 45 Schofield through this. It's kind of like 357 and 38 Special. You can shoot 357 and 38 in a 357, but not the other way around. Kind of with the 45 Colt. You can shoot 45 Colt and 45 Schofield, but you can't shoot 45 Colt in a gun that's chambered in 45 Schofield. So you actually have 2 different calibers, and like the other models, and even the Schofields and others, if they're chambered in 45 Colt with the handguns, you actually have another caliber gun, or caliber in general, that you can shoot. So there's that. What are the complaints with this particular one? Well, I don't have many, but I have about 2, and honestly, like I said, this gun is just drop dead gorgeous. I have fired it it shoots exactly like it's supposed to. But the one complaint is this grip. If you look at it, it's Pietta. I'm not bashing on you, but it's kind of cheap. It is fitted fairly well to the gun, but it's kind of, as you can see from this angle, it's real thin in the grip. And it's not the most comfortable. The fit up is, I give it an 8 out of 10. But it's not the most comfortable. And in fact, when you're shooting it, it kind of hurts. Like when you're swinging a baseball bat, a wooden one, and you hit that ball in the wrong spot and it kind of stings your hands. That's what I get that's what I get from shooting this and my other model gun. So Pietta, if anybody's watching this that works for them, if y'all could just come up with a better grip like you do with your 1860 Armies and your other guns, it'd be much appreciated. But that's about the one complaint. Number 2, and I believed I talked about this in my other video, was the trigger. So as you can see, this thing cocks easy, no problem, very smooth. It requires no effort to cock it, locks in place every time. But the trigger pull, when I first got it, it was very stiff. You had to pull, then the trigger released. That hurts accuracy. And a lot of these parts are factory cut in all these Pietta guns. I don't have this problem with my Ubertis so far that I've purchased, but the Piettas I do with the 1873 single action Armies. So simply it's the tooth inside the hammer that connects with the trigger when you bring it back to full cock. And as you can see, there's like a tooth that's poking out that you're having to pull against to release the hammer. So basically I had to take it apart, and all you gotta do is just file that tooth away. Yes, this is completely legal. I'm not altering the gun to enhance it. This doesn't make it a fully automatic revolver like the ATF wants you to believe. No, this simply just frees up the trigger and makes it a lot smoother. Now, I know you're never supposed to dry fire a gun, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as you can see, much better. A lot easier. So this model, my other, I did have to do that. That's the only 2 complaints with I've had with the Pietta 1873 models. Now, like I said, if you're wanting to find something like this, and especially one that looks like this, good luck. Because even online, they're incredibly hard to find. And to even get the one from Tombstone, Wyatt Earp's gun, you're looking at over $1,000 if you're lucky. Your best bet is Gunbroker or Gun Show or something like that. But I got this for probably 1/3 of what they're going for. Very lucky. You don't see this type every day. So I was very happy to get this pistol. As far as ammunition, kind of the same thing. 45 Colt's a little bit harder to find. It's gotten easier the last year and a half. Wicked expensive. Luckily, I reload, so it's not as much of a big deal, but it's still hard. Now, some of you are wondering, what all barrel lengths do these come in? Well, there is the standard, there's the like Doc Holliday's, which is 3-inch. I've heard some that are 4.5-inch, 5.5-inch. The traditional one, which has been 7.5-inch barrel. They go all the way to 10-inch, 12-inch, 16-inch, and even 24-inch I've seen on some, and some I've even heard 36-inch, which is basically a handheld rifle. They do make those, and they're hard to find. But if you're going to find a Buntline, this is mostly the one you're going to find. I believe this should be a 12-inch, 1-foot barrel. It should be 12-inch, which is normally what you're going to find. But you can find some others. As far as holsters, and I'll show you an example right here. So I've got my holster right here, which is also looped for 45 long Colt. Now you're probably wondering, because that long barrel, what's that going to look like? Well, there you go. So as you can see, it's kind of poking out the bottom, which can get uncomfortable, bump your leg, or scratch up the barrel depending on where you're going. They do make the holster for this that goes all the way down. I believe EMF does sell it, which is Wyatt Earp's holster, I think from the film. They're expensive. I think last time I looked, they were like $150. They're probably more. Honestly, you can go on eBay and they make the Buntline holster. I know it's cheaper, but it's actually not bad quality. I don't have that for an example, but you can find that, and there's other places to find a proper holster, something just like this for your Buntline if you don't want that poking out the bottom, which this works, but I don't like it poking out the bottom simply because it could scratch the barrel and everything else. So one other thing I wanted to talk about, and this ties back to my 1873 video, previously was how I was talking about how you could carry this gun, like in the holster in the half-cock position, if you wanted that extra round. Now, I had a gentleman respond to me and basically ask me, you know, you're not wrong, but you might be telling people an improper way to holster the gun, which could end up being dangerous. Well, could you do it? Yes, you could theoretically carry the gun just like that in your holster. Yeah, the cylinder's free, but that hammer's not going to fall, as you can see. I mean, I could whack it. I mean, I could, but it would break it. But, like with a hammer, but it's not going to fall as long as it's in your holster. Now, for today's time, like cowboy action shooting, like I was mentioning, they do that on purpose where they skip a chamber so that all guns are safe. I completely agree with doing that. Is it appropriate to do in public? Probably not. Could you? Technically, yes, you could, and you could have that extra round. Mainly what I'm saying is, if it was the year 1878, and I had something like this, and it was wild back then, that extra round might save your life. If it was me and I was all the way back then, would I do it? Maybe. I think there's a possibility I could, or at least if I could rest it between the chambers, something like that, I probably would. And if you've seen with the modern day cap and ball revolvers, they have that little notch cut out in the hammer that you can put between the chambers, so it kind of locks up the cylinder. Little different with these. But however, like I said, you do have that safety notch with this to prevent that. But like I was saying with the U-Birdie, if I'm going to properly carry it today, not really saying I would, but let's say I do, I'm going to carry it on an empty chamber because it looks better, it's proper, I know the hammer is resting all the way down, last cylinder, there is no possible way that the gun could ever go off. So that's mainly responding to a gentleman that watched my video over the 1873. He's not wrong, but if you're going to do that, if you did watch the video, I don't necessarily recommend you do that. But it's kind of like carrying a 1911. You properly carry one with the hammer cocked and the safety on. That's how you properly carry, if you carry a 1911 like I do, that's how you properly carry one. And mine also has a leather strap that goes over the hammer, so there's no way, any possible way of an accidental discharge. But that's how you properly carry a 1911. This is not a 1911. So, do I recommend you carrying it like this? No. In modern times, I would tell you no. If you have one like this, just simply put it on the safety notch and carry 6, because it's safe. There's no way that this gun could discharge. So, there you go. So, just wanted to go over that real quick. Now, we're almost getting to the end of the video, but shooting. Now, because it is such a long barrel, you're not going to sway as much. Now, however, you might get more tired because it is more front heavy over time, but you're going to sway less. When I shot my reloaded 45 Colt rounds, I was shooting a 200 grain flat nose bullet. It still kicks. It still kicks a little bit where the barrel was nearly coming up all the way up here. I had the same thing happen to my other models. But, like most of them, they kind of shoot low because of the tall front sight. As you can see, it will shoot low. But this gun shot consistently, very accurately. I was shooting at about 20 yards, one-handed, ringing still. Out of 50 rounds, I missed 1. That's pretty good. And on a paper target, nailed it square in the middle. I mean, this thing, because of the long barrel, it does shoot very, very accurately. And also with these guns, they will also shoot black powder cartridges, so smokeless and black powder. So that's another option if you wanted to get more traditional with a gun like this, especially from a gun from Tombstone, which we all know and love. You can shoot something like that. So that's basically it. I was just going to go over this pistol. I thought it was time to do a gun table talk over it. Again, I'll get you another look at just the beautiful craftsmanship that Pietta does offer for a lot of their guns like this. I mean, it's on the cylinder, even on the hammer, if you want to take a look at that. I mean, they kind of went all out. The trigger guard, I mean, they did a fantastic job. Can't thank Pietta enough. They don't sponsor me for saying that. I just want to thank them for making this so I could own one. So anyway, so that's about it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Gun Table Talk. Not really over the history. If you want to look at that, I recommend you check out my other video, but this is just over the Pietta Buntline. Well, anyway, guys, I'm the Musket Man. Keep your powder dry. We will catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. See you later, guys.